I pass over to John for the notice and summons of meeting.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. Good afternoon, everyone. To all members of the Governance and Strategic Planning Committee, you're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of the committee, which will be a hybrid meeting conducted remotely via WebEx and physically in the Council Chamber Tuesday the 7th of November at 4 o'clock. Alderman Cook.
Online, John.
Alderman Hussey.
Aye.
We've got apologies from Alderman Wilkinson. Councillor Boggs.
Shaw, John.
Councillor Donnelly. Councillor Sandra Duffy. Councillor Farrell.
Here.
Councillor Harkin.
Here.
Councillor Heaney.
Shaw.
Councillor Jackson. Councillor McGinley.
And Shaw.
Councillor Mooney. Councillor O'Farrell.
Shaw.
And Councillor Tierney. Thank you, members.
Thank you, John. Item 3 is just a broadcasting statement. So I would like to remind everyone present at this meeting in the chamber or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you are consenting to be being filmed and to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting and training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on when speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. A copy of the Council's privacy notice may be found on the Council's website. Item 4 is declarations of members' interests. If anybody has any interest to declare, they can do it now.
Chair, can I call for a suspension of standing orders, Liddell?
Okay.
Chair.
Chair, can I second that?
Just clarify what it's for, Gary, just for the record.
Chair, it's regards item number 22, which is in confidential. I'd like to bring that out of confidential and bring it to the very front of this meeting. I understand there is aspects of it that we can't discuss, and I recognise that. But I think there's one pressing matter in this is that this council is responsible for prolonging the homelessness of a large number of citizens in this district, and I think that we need to deal with that as a matter of urgency. And I have sent a proposal, and Teresa has that.
So, Chair, I don't think we require suspension of standing orders. If the members are content, that paper can be discussed. So, there, as you've said yourself, Councillor Donnelly, sorry, through you, Chair, there are some legal elements of the paper that can't be discussed in open business. But if members are content to discuss the issue, Philip can outline all those elements that are in the paper in open business that can be discussed in open business and provide the context and then discussion if members are content.
Content.
Yeah.
Content.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, members. Members, this is to the paper is to update you in relation to certain land and contract disputes that involve the development at Balnagard, and there's certain authority which is sought within the paper in order to bring a resolution to those disputes. And whenever we deal with the matter in confidential business, again later in the meeting, I will go back in relation to that. Members, you'll be aware that the project dates back to 2009. It was first initiated by the former Derry City Council as a development and regeneration opportunity in relation to, there were essentially going to be two elements to the proposal. One was going to be the development of essentially a social housing initiative. The second element was going to be in relation to the development of an enhanced amenity or social space in that area. That initial proposal, members, if you will recall, was the subject of a number of objections at the time, with the result that the proposal had to be substantially redesigned. and it was completely redesigned. Resubmission of planning permission in 2015 and 2016. The social housing element of it remained largely unchanged, but there were significant changes made to the social and an amenity space in relation to it. Now, members, there was a contractual dispute, which, and again, I don't want to go into the detail of that. In open business, that wouldn't be appropriate, members, because you will be asked to make a decision in relation to a way forward in relation to that at a later stage. But that contractual dispute resulted in with the developer at the time, and it was also identified that there had been a number of encroachments onto council's land in that area, which impacted on the number of social housing units which it was possible to develop on the site before those encroachment issues were addressed. Now, members, you'll also recall that this council has previously given authority to take forward court proceedings in relation to those encroachment issues, and those matters are currently before the court. With the matter next, I believe, to come to court at some stage in the next couple of weeks for further consideration as to how that matter is to be progressed. Separately, the council has also received correspondence, pre-action correspondence, shall we say, from the developer in relation to the contractual issues in and around the social element of those. Now, members, you'll be aware, obviously, that contractual disputes of a commercial nature of this kind can take a significant period of time to resolve, with a great deal of expense involved in relation to that. As a result of that, members, the council took the step of saying, look, we effectively have got two disputes which, whilst not directly related, they involve the same portion of land, and that the appropriate course of action, or one possible course of action, would be for the council to, or for all of the parties, to engage in a mediation in respect of to see if a resolution could be achieved as quickly as possible in respect of those disputes. That proposal was put forward, members, with the council indicating and officers indicating that the council would bear the entire costs of the mediation in an attempt to try and achieve as early a resolution to the issues that were being presented as possible. That mediation, members, took place a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately, whilst it has not resolved all of the issues, it did successfully resolve a number of the issues that remained outstanding in relation to the matter separately. Members, officers also spoke to, now you'll be aware, members, those of you that have dealt with the planning application in relation to this matter, that there is a clause within the planning permission which relates to the occupation of the houses in the absence of the development of the amenity space. The council has also taken the positive step of engaging proactively with the social housing provider in order to offer a potential resolution to that issue, which would allow the houses to be occupied, even though there was a technical breach ongoing of the planning permission in relation to that matter. And again, details of that proposed solution exist within this paper, members, and you'll be asked to take a decision in relation to that potential aspect of those matters later on. Now, there do remain some issues that of a contractual dispute nature. And indeed, members, there was fresh correspondence which was received today from the developer solicitors in relation to the matter, which we've engaged with the developer's solicitor to try and ensure that nothing is derailed in relation to the matter, members. But the assurance is that hopefully this proposal today that's before you will, provided that all of the elements of it that are implemented, allow us to provide sufficient assurances to the social housing provider to allow them to allow all of the houses to be occupied as soon as they can be, members. So in summary, members, that whilst there are lengthy, complicated, potentially extremely expensive disputes which exist in relation to the land, and whilst a resolution of any court proceedings which exist in relation to those disputes still potentially could take some significant and considerable time, Proactive involvement and engagement with the various parties has taken place by officers with a view to bringing to you, members, the potential resolution today to allow these matters to be resolved as quickly as possible and to allow an interim solution to be put in place to ensure that the maximum number of social houses possible are available to the citizens of the city and district today.
Thank you for that, Philip. Councillor Donnelly, as you were the person who wanted to bring this out of confidential, I'll give you the first comment on it.
Now, good Chair. I've sent a proposal to Teresa there, Chair, and I think it's important to state too that the developers are here and they're present here today, along with some of the residents, some of the considerable number of residents who can't get into their home. You know, the proposal that we have is dependent on this council releasing a significant sum of money, a six-figure sum. And all I'm trying to do here is separate that. I think Philip said that, you know, it depends on all elements of the proposal. I think this council needs to move immediately. This council cannot be responsible. Council is responsible for the open space. I don't think that's in dispute. And we need to separate these residents have done nothing wrong. Some of them are living in bedsits. Some of them have children living apart. All have homeless status. And we need, as a matter of urgency, we need them into these homes. And it should not be dependent on any other elements of this proposal. It's black, for me, it's black and white. And this council should also apologise for the delay. We're coming up to Christmas here. People are sitting with their stuff boxed up. There's people who've had children in education facilities that had to withdraw them from them, and them spaces have now been filled in. There's people who can't apply. This will affect some people's benefits. People have already lost money for deposits that they made for goods and services, and we cannot. Absolutely, in no circumstances can we allow that to continue. We need a letter of comfort, irrespective of everything else that's going on. And I know there's another potential proposal from another councillor on here. It can deal with all them issues. And we can deal with them as a matter of urgency. If you want to stay on after this meeting, I'm prepared to sit here and discuss it for how long. But we need this read up, and these people need to get in their houses. And then we deal with the mess that we have created.
You have a proposal on there, Councillor Donnelly. Is there a seconder for the Councillor Tierney second, just for clarity? Councillor Tierney indicated you wanted to speak also.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you to Councillor Donnelly for first and foremost his proposal, but also the suggestion to bring this particular item out of confidentiality. What we have in the public gallery are people who were unfortunate enough to find themselves homeless, families who were, as Councillor Donnelly has outlined, sharing right across the city and district, who were fortunate enough to be allocated a home in Ballinackyard, and who are excited, looking forward to having a home of their own. And it's been held up due to what we're being told is contractual issues around this particular development. I agree with Councillor Donnelly when he speaks about there being two separate issues. There's a number of separate issues, in my opinion, and we had an outline there now from the city solicitor, which very outlined and touched on the complexities which is involved within the paper that's before us. And I think those need separated. We first and foremost, as a council, need to do all we can today to allow a letter of comfort for those people over there to get into their houses. It's that simple. Then we can deal with everything else thereafter. But we should not be standing in the way, as a council, we should not be standing in the way from them people getting into their homes. And for me, that is the biggest and most urgent thing that we need to tackle today. And like Councillor Donnelly, I'm prepared to stay here until however long it takes
to tomorrow morning, to next week, if that's what it takes, that we get it sorted out for them people to get in their homes. Then people are looking forward to Christmas in their new homes, and we don't even know whether they're going to be in there. I had one of those parents contact me today on the 7th of November and ask me, am I going to be in my house before Christmas? And I couldn't give her an answer. That was annoying for me. That must have been multiplied for that woman and her children. And we can't allow that to happen. So we need to separate this report, in my opinion. I have also provided a proposal to Teresa, which can, or to the committee section, which can either be attached on to Councillor Donnelly's or can come as a separate proposal later on. But it states that this council should set up a task force, a task and finish group, to sort out and resolve the issues which are going on with this scheme. Because I was on the site yesterday. I seen the houses. They're finished. There's no reason why them people shouldn't be in them. The houses are finished. The only reason is that we haven't provided a letter of comfort. And in my opinion, it says in that proposal that it must go immediately. I would suggest that if that proposal is backed by this council, that we suspend this meeting and we get that letter written now, and it goes now. It doesn't wait the full council. It needs to go today. And the reason that it needs to go today is because them people deserve to be in their homes. And that's where this has to come. If you want to attach my proposal onto that one, I'm happy with that. If you want to do it separately, I'm happy with that as well. There's a massive amount of complexities within this paper that we should not, in my opinion, be taking a decision on today. There are financial aspects, there are contractual aspects, which we don't really know a lot about. We haven't been across the detail. And I would like to take the time as elected members to get across the detail. They listen to everybody involved, to all of the stakeholders, the council officers, to the contractors, the housing association, and everybody else involved to find out what went on. Because it looks today, and this is the important thing, it looks today to them people and their families that this council is preventing them from getting into their houses. We had the housing executive on here last month. Every member that spoke from every party and none talked about working with housing cases, about how complex they are, about how high the points have gone up, and how difficult it is to get a home across this city and district. There's people that went through the process, got the points, got the houses, but didn't get the keys. This council needs to act to do everything we can to get them their keys as a matter of urgency. And I would suggest that where it says immediately there means today. That letter of comfort needs to go today to get them people in their houses. I fully support, and the SDLP fully support, the proposal that's on that board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. I know you have another proposal. Because this one's already been accepted, we'll take this first, and then we'll take your proposal if you're okay with that. Okay. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in, and thank you to Councillor Donnelly for bringing this item out of confidential and for bringing this proposal here today. I've been a councillor since 2014. Prior to being a councillor, I worked really closely in the Chantal office with Councillor Tony Hassan, who from 2009 was adamant that these houses were going to be built, adamant that people in the Culmore area were going to have access to social housing that they were crying out for many, many years. Councillor Hassan worked really closely on this. When I came into council, I worked with Councillor Hassan on it. There has been so many issues, so many barriers being put in front of this scheme for far too long. There has been issues in terms of negotiations with current residents living in the area. There has been issues around access. There has been issues around the social aspect of it. There has been mountains of issues that have continuously come at us, and we have tried to work through them. And I am absolutely shocked that we're at this stage of what I can only call a mess for a number of people who have been lucky enough to be allocated these really much needed houses. I have people who I have been working with for 10 years who have been on the list waiting for these houses. Now, a lot of them were lucky enough to get them, but I have a hell of a lot of people who weren't lucky enough to get one of these houses. The people that I work with that have got them were over the moon. They were so delighted to get the allocation. I actually came off a plane and got numerous notifications from people who were allocated these houses. I couldn't believe how lucky that they were, considering the number of people that were in for them. And now they have got to the stage where they have tilers booked, they have plumbers booked, they have painters booked, they have their children children's stuff all packed up. They're ready to move in, excited for Christmas. And then we are left in this situation where they're being told, no, sorry, I know you were told you have a house. We know we told you a move-in date, but unfortunately that's not going to happen now at this point. That's not good enough. To see some of the residents that I have been talking to, or potential residents that I've been talking to, whose stress and mental health has been absolutely devastated by this decision now. It can't be allowed to stand. We have to support this motion here before us. We have to do everything that we can to allow these potential residents to get into their homes before Christmas, because it's completely unfair. Could you imagine if you were living in a B&B or living in a hotel or living in a house that is absolutely not suitable to meet the needs of your family, being dangled with a card of, oh, here's your beautiful home, you're going to be in for Christmas, and then that rug being snatched from under you? It can't happen. It can't happen. We have a responsibility to people. We can't allow for these people who have been allocated their homes to continue to be homeless coming up to Christmas. That's not a space that I come into council to be in. I want to be here to find resolutions to the problems, and if we need to be here for as long as we can to sort this out, then that's what we need to do, because these people deserve to be on their homes for Christmas. So whatever we can do today, we need to do it.
Sorry, through you, Chair, just a discussion there with, members, Philip has outlined some of the complex issues. I suppose what we're trying, and by the way, the intention of council is most certainly to end up in a situation where residents can get access to their homes as soon as possible. That's the absolute intention of council and the paper today. We're unfortunately members in that sort of strange space at the minute where to try to get a resolution to the issue and to try to make sure that council members can take decisions today. There are elements of this that are going to have to be discussed in confidential business and elements of it in open business. It was just a suggestion with the chair. Is there any opportunity to go into a short recess for a moment to discuss this with you and then go back into open business?
Can I ask one question before we take a recess? If we resolve the issues in confidential business, does that mean that a letter of comfort can be given to these potential residents that they will have access to their homes?
If I could respectfully suggest through the chair, could we discuss these issues in a recess and then come back into open business in front of all of the residents and then outline the position at that point? Would that be a suggestion? Because you're asking questions, some of which we can answer in open business, some of which we can't answer in open business because there's some contractual implications.
Chair, for clarification, before we go into recess, I know Councillor Harkin is seeking to speak and I'm seeking to speak on the issue.
You are looking to speak on this proposal. It was a suggestion from John at the conversation we were having, is that there's elements of this report that we obviously can't discuss in open business. So is it possible that we maybe move into confidential and deal with the paper in its entirety, where we can have that conversation as members and then come back into open business and deal with the proposals that are here, but do it now at the start of the meeting as opposed to later?
Do it now. Yeah, do it now.
Is that something that people would be open to?
Chair, I would suggest that we vote on the motion, because it's my understanding that a letter of comfort, you know, that planners can give letters of comfort and that it doesn't need to be ratified at full council, that if this is to be prevented, that it will be this council that will prevent it, that we can proceed with a letter of comfort.
You could just come in on that, just to give some advice.
I'm not prepared to go into the detail of this unless we go into confidential business. But correspondence today was received from the developers' solicitors which severely impacts potentially on the proposed resolution that we have in front of you. The developers sitting in the chamber today, I can't provide you with the detail of that in relation to this matter unless we go into confidential business. But that correspondence was received today, members, and you have a right to have that information in front of you before you make any decision in relation to any proposal.
On that basis, I would suggest that we would move on to confidential and deal with this issue. How members feel on that?
Into a recess and
Are we going into confidential or taking a recess?
We can go into a recess to discuss what we're going to do,
Yeah.
if that suits. It's between members, is that okay? Okay, so we'll take 10.
So are you suggesting we go into a recess to discuss whether we're going to go into confidential and then go into confidential? Is that what we're saying?
Through you, Chair, members, you have a number of options here. You can either vote to go into confidential and we can take the paper now. Or if you're uncomfortable doing that, you can go into recess. We can have a discussion about what your options are. We can have a discussion around the complexity of the issue, and then you can come back into open business and decide what way to go forward then. So it's going into recess is just simply an interim step to allow a discussion to take place so that everybody's comfortable and everybody understands the matter. Or alternatively, you can go straight into confidential business. It's really a matter for yourself. But I think what Philip is saying, and the motion stays on the floor. The motion stays on the floor in the meantime. But I think what Philip is saying is that in order to take that motion forward or any further discussion on the matter, he needs to discuss with you certain aspects of the matter.
I was just going to say, if we can't vote on the motion until you give us the information in confidential, then we need to go into confidential to hear what you have to say.
Chair, will we be given a chance to discuss, given that it looks like the reason why we're going into confidential is because of correspondence from the developer? Will we be given an option to have a conversation, either in confidential or publicly, with the developer following we're furnished with information from the city solicitor?
I would have to really strongly caution members against that, bearing in mind their obligations under the Code of Conduct. The fact of the matter is members are here representing council, and the developer has their own legal representation in relation to that matter. I would not see any basis upon which members, without putting themselves in jeopardy, would be in a position to have those conversations.
It just seems that we will be given a briefing from city solicitor, and we will be expected to make a decision after that briefing, without having had the opportunity to discuss that matter with the people who have sent the correspondence.
Chair, I think that's a matter for each member to decide whether they can make a decision at that stage. So I think if we maybe take this one step at a time. If you're comfortable to take the confidential paper, we do that first, and then members decide where you want to go from there.
Councillor Tierney.
They're just to point out, and from my point of view, these people have been waiting long enough. Let's go on the confidential, find out what the city solicitor has to say, and then move forward then. We're all only going around the houses about what we might do and what we might do. Let's go on the confidential, get the information, and then we'll take it then next step after that.
Okay, can I get a seconder for that proposal, Councillor Jackson? Okay, so what we're going to do then is move on to confidential to discuss this issue, which means that I will have to ask those in the public gallery and the media to step out of the room. Do we deal with it? And then we'll bring these back in, if that's okay. So